Episode 1. Before I was ready. A few hours ago, I walked out of my first speaking gig, and I figured that's probably the best possible time to start a podcast that I have been thinking about for a very long time. So, I'm Darian Glausier. I'm a software engineer, and as of today, I'm a speaker. I can say that now, officially. It just happened. And this is Headfirst. It's basically a show where I can think out loud about the tools, the hard stuff, and what it actually looks like to become who you want to be or who I want to be. So I just came back again from HomerCon. It's basically an internal conference at Home Depot. It was all online, and I gave a 10-minute lightning talk. Now, I do have a second gig in June with Women Who Code 2026. Completely different topic. I believe a completely different kind of audience as well. So I've never done either of these before today. I've done chats, I've done presentations, but nothing like what I'm doing and what I plan to keep doing. So, what did I talk about? The HomerCon talk was called What If Your Constraint Was You, AI, and NDPH? The premise was basically something that I built for myself. It was a daily planning system that uses AI to design around my day with my actual capacity and not just the capacity that I wish I had, the one that I actually woke up with or that I'm dealing with at that moment. So I have a chronic condition that affects me every single day. And I'm not going to go deep on it today. That's its own conversation. But the short version is I had to learn to work differently. It was difficult. It wasn't something that I could out discipline. It was a constraint that didn't respond to discipline. So I had to build a system around it instead. And that's what the talk was about. Not just for people who have what I have. It's actually pretty sadly rare. Or not sadly, no. Happily rare, I guess. Anyone who's been exhausted in a way they couldn't explain, that feeling actually has a name. It's cognitive overhead. The thing about overhead is that it is invisible until it already cost you something. So with my presentation, I went in with 6 drafts. I timed my slides out to where I roughly wanted it to be because it was only 10 minutes and I didn't want to run over too much. Think I did like 10 minutes and 30 seconds. So I appreciate those extra 30 seconds. I practiced a lot. I knew where the hard parts were, and it still fell short to me. The problem wasn't the talk itself. It wasn't what I covered. It was basically that 10 minutes is really small for a topic that big, especially when it can be personalized to literally everyone. I knew it going in wasn't going to be enough. That said, people even said it to me afterward. You packed a lot in. I'm taking that as a compliment and a fact at the same time. But here's what I know now that I didn't fully believe before I walked in there. Packed doesn't mean incomplete. I gave out a link in the end, a full walkthrough, everything they would need to actually go and build this for themselves. The talk was actually just the door. It was the resource was the room or Confluence page. You don't have to deliver everything in one session. You just have to deliver enough that people want to walk through that door. They want to learn more. They're curious. They might reach out to you more, and it's really interesting. So how did it actually go? Really well. I think there were about 70 people in the session. It was better than I expected. Good turnout. And coming from me, I'm really proud. Fast forward to my next one, Women Who Code. It's going to be in June in New York City. It's a developer-focused audience, from what I understand. More tech savvy. I think the HomerCon was literally for anyone and everyone, so I had to be a little bit more broad on how I talked because the audience could have been anyone. With Women Who Code, it is in the name, Women Who Code. I feel like you're a little bit more technologically savvy. But the topic is basically a tool that I built during an innovation week at work. It's a way to use AI to understand a code base, not just search it, but understand it, understand the structure, the patterns, what connects to what. If you've ever joined like a new team and felt like you were reading a language only you half knew, this is the problem that it solves. And not like, framework language. Anyone can figure out anything. But there's so much information that you have that AI doesn't, and it needs some of that information too, and you have to know how to give it to it. So this just helps. I actually got something sharper during the week. I had to build it, so yay. The talk, it hasn't started. And I find that gap interesting to sit with. HomerCon, 6 draft, every beat mapped, slides done, practice out loud, women who code. I know what I built, I know why it matters, and that's exactly where I am right now. I have a light, go through, but I'm guilty. There's a version of me that would spiral about that. This version is a little bit, but as of right now, I have time. I have the thing, I know my process works, and having something worth saying and knowing how to say it really aren't the same skill. One does come after or before the other, and I'm in the right order. I guess you might be wondering, what does the prep look like for me personally? I don't start with a script. I start with a question, what I'm actually trying to say, then I let it expand. Sometimes it's like a canvas with branches coming off of it. Sometimes it's just a brain dump until I can see the shape. Either way, I'm looking for the spine, basically. 3 or 4 things that actually need to be said. You may want to talk about everything, but not everything needs to be said. And I've had to cut things out that I really wanted to talk about. It's not as necessary in some cases. You have to learn to take yourself out of it a little bit. You need a story to hold everything together. The moments that make it feel real rather than presented. I'm a feelings person. I don't know about you. Data gets you in the door, but feelings make someone stay. Once I have the rough shape, I draft it out. And now this is when I'll use AI at this stage, not to write for me, but to kind of pressure test it. Where does this flow? Where does it drag? Where am I losing my thread, basically? Where am I rambling? And once that's done, I drop the full script, roughly. Again, it's not like a script, it's like a outline script, I guess. I work from the talking points, the high level beats, the details that I know I want to hit. Maybe a line I've worked on because I know exactly where I want it to land or hit. But I'm not performing a script because it's so hard if you lose your spot to get back to it. It's not worth it. It's really not. Jesus Christ. Okay. I'm not performing a script. If I go for 30 seconds because something else came up, that's fine. That's real. You need to have your high level points though, especially if you've got memory issues, ADHD, anything like that. You need something that's almost physical to be able to be like, okay, this is where I am. I need to stop what I'm talking about and focus here. But I'll also say this aloud because it matters. I use slides partly because, again, my memory isn't always reliable as it used to be. Mid sentence, I can lose a thread. So a slide in front of me kind of means I can pick that back up really easy to a certain degree. It's not a limitation. Well, I mean, yeah, it's kind of a limitation that I'm working around, and it's a design decision. It's the same thing I said in the HomerCon talk. Plan around who you actually are and what your limitations are. So, not the version of yourself that slept 8 hours, had no meetings, and has unlimited focus. The person that doesn't exist for any of us at any consistent basis doesn't exist. Wish it did. The goal of a system is basically it holds on the hard days, it holds on the pressure points, not just the easy, wonderful, the data is flowing in nicely. We never have an error. No, that doesn't usually happen. I started building for that kind of work. At some point, I stopped being able to tell where that ended and the rest of my life began, which I think is probably the right outcome. All right. So here's what I've been sitting with since this morning. I didn't have opportunities like this before I got sick. I know how that sounds, kind of backwards, right? But something changed in me, a specific kind of impatience. If I want to try something, I should probably try it now. I've learned not to assume later looks the same as now. Not anymore. So I said yes to the podcast today. I said yes to 2 speaking gigs. Figured out what ready looked like on the way there. I'm realizing that ready isn't ready. You're never going to be ready. It is a figment. So, yay. Again, I said yes to everything. That's the big point. I'm really proud that I'm just saying yes to things and I'm saying no to things that don't matter or that priority can be shifted elsewhere. Head first doesn't mean you're not scared. I'm terrified of putting myself out here. Basically, it means that you decided that waiting wasn't the answer. Your good days, your bad days, they're both real. The constraints you're navigating, real. The thing you haven't started because you don't feel ready, valid, but you don't have to have it all figured out before you move. I'm Darian Glausier, and this is Head First. Bye.